Hey guys, Alan here. We are going to do a preliminary test for the Elishewitz EX01. Before I conduct the lock and folder weight test, I need to gather some data. And this preliminary test, I will be testing out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 knives. 3 different companies, production companies, 1 custom, 5 different locking mechanisms. Alright, I will be covering up the handle of the knives so no one knows the model and the company that I'm going to be testing out. I do not want to discredit any of the other companies. This is not what this test is about. This test is for me to gather data so I know where the EX01 stands with some of these other top manufacturers. Okay, let's start it. This is the start weight, 110 pounds. All knives will start off at 110 pounds. First knife, it was a production button lock. And we're starting the test on 110 pounds. The knife did not break, the lock failed at 110 pounds. Test number 2. This time it lasted a little bit longer. The bucket was dangling a little bit. Same thing, another production company, button lock. Knife did not break, the lock failed. Starting weight, 110 pounds. I'm going to say something like maybe, about another 110 pounds, and it just kind of gave up. 110 pounds. We're going to start adding weight to it. 14 pounds. 13 pounds. This is the 3rd test. We went with a different type of knife from a production company. This is a liner lock. The lock failed. The liner is just crunched up in there, and it failed at 137 pounds. Alright folks, this is like the worst one. This is a factory lockback. I'm going to say it probably broke at 50 pounds. You know, I mean, the pallet jack was still going down. There was just barely any tension on this. You know, the bucket didn't deform or anything because of all the weight, and it just gave. The knife did not break. So far, all these testing, knives did not break, blades did not break, locks failed. And this one, this lockback, failed at, I'm going to say 50 pounds. Let's go on to the next one. Another lockback. Handle and blade is intact. The lock failed. Basically it just pulled right out. It was wanting to take most of the weight. It was just about to. You can start seeing the bucket move off of the pallet. This is 110 pounds, maybe 100 pounds. I'd say between 90 and 100 pounds. Actually, it's broken. I'll say 100 pounds. It didn't break all the way. The shorter knife. We didn't get the clunking noise because the handle is actually resting against this G10. So this is from another company. This is a liner lock. It's a shorter knife. Even past 50 pounds. You know, it's just, lock just slipped right off of the blade. Let's go to the final knife. Came up with this locking mechanism years ago, and I just never went forward with it because I felt it wasn't strong enough. Well, I proved myself right. You know, this was just for fun. We already had this thing set up and wanted to see what it'll take, and I would say probably about maybe 75 pounds. I got the conclusion of the test, of the preliminary test, with the 3 different companies, 5 different locking mechanisms, 1 custom. We had an average. Now what I'm doing is I'm going off of linear inch pounds. Okay, linear inch pounds is going to be the constant number. We can have a large knife, we have a small knife. We have a pivot point of 0.1. We have the anchoring point of 0.2. Okay, A and B. Now, if you have a large knife, you have a short knife, these points are going to change. But the pounds inch, linear inch pounds, is going to remain a constant. Okay, so that's why we're going to go off of linear inch pounds. I'm not going to go off of, oh, this knife took 50 pounds, this knife took 150 pounds, this knife took, 75 pounds. Because the numbers don't mean anything because the holes are different. So the first knife we looked at was a button lock. It failed at 90 pounds of the weight. So I'm going to go the weight that it failed at, and then I'm going to tell you the linear inch pounds. It was 276.75. The next one was a button lock. It was 110. It failed at 357.50 linear inch pounds. The next one was a liner lock. It failed at 137, which translates to 505.53. Next one was a lock back. It failed at 50 as 187.5. The next one was a liner lock. It failed at 100. I'm sorry, it was a lock back. It failed at 100. That's 375. The next one was a liner lock. It failed at 100. 302.5. The next one was an unusual locking mechanism. It failed at 50. That's 153.85. And just for giggles and grins, I threw one of my customs that I made years ago. It failed at 75. That's 260.62 inch pounds. Add it all together, divide it by the number of knives that we tested. The average inch pounds was 302.40. So by doing this test, I'm understanding where some of these knives should be falling in on inch pounds and weight and what happens. So far we have not had a knife that broke. Only thing that failed was the locking mechanism. So let's go ahead and do the EX01, the Elishewitz EX01.